good. Start and start. Let's do this. Oh man, do I have to sneeze? Do I have to sneeze? Oh, I might have to sneeze, which is okay. If I have to sneeze, it's not a big deal. It's really not. I can mute. I'm ready. I'm ready. In theory. So, okay, those things are showing live. I have my emails. Remembered to mute my phone this time. So let's go to here, and I probably have to wait a minute. Oh, that one's ready. Okay, so we'll say okay. And just verify that both streams are active, which I believe that they are, but I'm just going to verify that because I don't like trusting that unless I'm sure. Okay, I see that one's good and that one's good. Okay, it looks like they're both. I mean, the fact that I saw one automatically in the social stream app is a good indicator, but I still don't really trust anything until I see that until I see all my verifications come up. But that's a good sign if I see one. Whoa. Hold on. That's strange. Maybe. Hold on. Did I activate that? Oh, yeah, here it is. Activate. Okay, there it is. So that's the other one. Live. Go there. I see both names, so I should be able to now hit this button. We should hear a sound. Okay, we heard a sound. Now let me verify that the window comes up and that we see the dashboard. There it is. I'm going to make that visible. And then I need to do my, oh, I forgot about the one dock for the Twitch. Oh, there it is. It's already there. Okay, good, good. All right, so let's do our testing. So let's do TEST1, and there it is. So I can now close this window, and then we'll check this one, and we'll say TEST2, and verify. Yes, two different names, so this net window can now also be closed, and then we just need to verify that the Twitch is working, TEST3, and it is. So now I am good. I don't do anything else. Okay, so let me, no, everything else is good, so we will do this. And everything else should be, so we should see a moose head with a pink background in a second. And if we do, then I think we're good. Hey, look, we're good. Hey, wow. At not even 3 minutes. That's a record. Okay, so let's jump back in to the moose head. Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope it's a happy Monday for you. I hope everybody's doing well. I mean, there's nobody here, so I'm saying this to nobody. But anybody seeing this later, well, I guess it wouldn't be Monday for you then either. Whenever you're seeing this, whatever day that is, wherever you are, whenever you are, hopefully you are, is this on? Yes. Hopefully you're doing well. I hope you are. I am doing pretty well this evening. The only real complaint I have is that I did some painting yesterday, and I actually managed to, I don't think injure my hand is the right way to say it. Basically, what I hadn't thought about is, because I don't consider right now, as this is streaming, and if you're watching this later, it won't be that much later. Well, it won't post that much later. It is currently November here in Northern California, and the weather has turned, and I'm going to put, I'm mentally putting quotation marks around this, cold. It's cold for Northern Californians, or people who are not used to real cold. And so it was 50 degrees when I painted yesterday. So I did some painting yesterday. Oh, I can close. I don't need to have Discord open. I knew that window looked weird. Okay, there we go. Now everything that could interfere is gone. So anyway, so I did some painting. I actually did a first run, a background painting, I should say, for what will be a Vampire Hunter D and or Castlevania, depending on how you want to look at it, inspired painting. And this is because I had done a painting that was inspired by the Skeksis, or Skeksis, depending on how you're supposed to say it. I always said Skeksis, but I've seen Skeksis as well. But anyway, the villain castle, well, I guess not the villain castle because it then becomes the Castle of Light at the end. The main castle from the Jim Henson film, I believe it's from 1982, titled The Dark Crystal, one of my favorite films of all time. I adore it. It is just a magnificent piece of artistic brilliance. And so I done this image of a castle that really came from a Bob Ross stream, what a surprise, where he had this interesting way of painting clouds. And I really liked the way the clouds looked. So I wanted to do another painting with those clouds, but I didn't want to just do the same painting again. So I did this variation of it. Pardon me, I just have to check something really quick before I forget. I just need to see something, because I will forget if I don't look right now. It just occurred to me, so I apologize. This will be very, very quick if I don't verify that I had done this. Oh, I know where it is. So I had done this painting of the Dark Crystal Castle, which came out really well. I was actually very happy with it. And I had posted it, and somebody had said, oh, that looks like the Vampire Hunter D castle from the anime Vampire Hunter D. And I hadn't... And I thought, oh yeah, it does kind of look like that now that you say it. That's true. It does look that way. And then I thought, well, you know what? Why don't I try to do a variation of that castle? Because the image that this individual had sent me had this very, very large striking moon in the background. And I thought, ooh, that is interesting. Why not try to do that castle? Because I had a great time painting the Dark Crystal Castle, so why not do the same thing? And so I basically did a background. If you've ever seen animation, old hand-drawn animation, or traditional animation, so I shouldn't say old. Traditional animation, the way a lot of it's done, is the static background is painted. It's a painted background. And then the animation cells, the things that have to move, are put onto clear sheets that are put over those backgrounds and then replaced to make the motion. So I used a similar, not animation, this is not going to be animated, but a similar idea where the background that I painted on Sunday or yesterday from when this stream is being recorded, and there is a video of it that's on the YouTube channel that you can watch, because I figured out how to make the GoPro. I almost said Bro-Crow. The GoPro, I figured out finally what I was doing with the GoPro, and it actually worked fairly well. And so I recorded it. So you can go watch it. It's about a little over an hour long. You can see the actual process of me painting this background image. And so this background image, I just realized I need a different color for this. The background, don't I? Yeah, I do. Do I? Yes, I do. So the background image, let me grab this. Let's come to here, and let's go on top of that, and then we'll do an assist here. I'm going to lighten this up. So that background image is in oil. So it's an oil painting. And that background is in oil. And then I'm going to do, so the background is essentially some clouds, quite a few clouds, some large clouds, which I realized later, because I'm going to do another large moon image, I had to actually cut. And I have to look up the best way to do it because I know I didn't do it the right way. I probably have to get like contact paper or something. I really should have. I was using painter's tape on a oil canvas. Let's put it this way. The easiest thing to say is that I got extraordinarily lucky that the method that I used worked as well as it did. I'll just leave it at that because I know I did not do it at all the way it should have been done. But it worked out, so I'm not going to complain. So that oil painting, the oil portion, has to now dry for 2 weeks. And once it is dry, that's you want oil paint generally to have a few weeks to fully dry. Now it probably will dry faster because it is now colder and drier. So probably I could get away with doing it in a week, but I'm also not in a rush. So it's fine. But I ordered a bunch of acrylic paint pens where I'm going to do the foreground images. So I shouldn't say images. The foreground subject matter will be done with pens because, unlike with paintbrushes, which in my case, the best I can do with paintbrushes is I can do kind of big, not that sharply defined stuff like clouds. The moon, I cut painter's tape. That's why it has sharp edges, and even they aren't entirely sharp because I was very nervous about cutting into the canvas, so I'm sure that some of the tape wasn't overlaid properly. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And then when I was trying to take it off, I realized I hadn't cut through some small bits of it, so it was a bit of a thing getting it off, and frankly, getting it cut at all. But regardless, it's not bad. It came out really well, and I got a really beautiful color on the moon, and realized that I can a technique to actually do the moons. But as I was saying, it's colder, so the paint, oil paint, I don't think I've painted with it when it has been as cold as it was when I did this painting. So while I found it to be very nice painting weather, I think what actually happened was because I store my paint outside, the paint got very cold. And so while you do want oil paint to be firm to a degree, it, I think, started to get too firm, where when I was applying it to the canvas, it was taking a lot of brute force to move it around, because what I was doing was the beginning, and you'll see this on the, if you watch the video on the YouTube channel, you'll see this. I was laying down transparent colors for background that will then pick up any light opaque color that goes over them. So white in this case, but I may mess around with different colors and see what kind of effects I can get. I think that's what I'm going to do on my next one. I think I'm going to start playing around and see what the color looks like. It might be a really bad idea. I'm going to actually have some small canvases that I'll probably practice on just to see what the effect looks like, because I really don't know. And I probably should make sure it's not going to be a disaster before I, blow it on a giant canvas. But in any event, so when I was trying to lay this transparent paint, because you want to do a coat, not a particularly heavy coat. I mean, you can, but generally you're aiming for a thin coat, just enough so that if you put your finger on it, which you'll see me do in the video, if you watch it, you'll see me put my finger on it. I don't know if the video is going to pick up, but you want to see some color, but you don't want it to be really dark, or you've put too much and it's going to dominate whatever you've done. You want it to be more of kind of it should be kind of mixing with the color, not just completely overpowering it. But that process of me trying to get that paint to spread evenly, I had to use so much force on the brush, that's not a problem from the canvas side. You can drive a brush into a canvas. I have learned that you can be pretty forceful and in some cases you want to be very forceful with the actual brush. It's not going to hurt the canvas, except of course that I had cut that painter's tape, and I was really worried that if I had cut too far, that pushing on it with the brush would actually start to damage the canvas. And I'm not 100% sure that I didn't do that and didn't damage it, but so far it seems okay. So I was really pushing on this brush, which again, not a problem in terms of the canvas, but I woke up this morning. Oh wait, I already did this. Why am I doing this again? I already have an X here. Where is it? Sorry, I didn't realize I looked at the X and didn't even think about what it meant. It meant I already had this. So I'm going to move this down. It should go under here. Put that right there. So I woke up this morning and my hand, luckily it's not throbbing sore, but if I put it in the position like I was holding a brush, I get a nice little kind of throbbing pain in it. So I definitely did, push my hand a bit far. And I really do believe, because I've done paintings like this before, I'm not going to say I usually feel it in my arms. I usually feel it kind of in my shoulder and my bicep, because I'm moving, my arm a lot. That I'm used to, but my hand has never been I've never had the tightness in my hand that I had today. So clearly what I did was I overdid it with the brush because I was pushing it with such force into that canvas. And I really believe that's because the paint was overly firm. And so I think what I'll do next time is the day before I'm going to paint, I will actually put I will bring the art box with the paint inside the house, and the day before, just so that the paint is at basically a room temperature, certainly warmer than it would be outside, and see if that fixes it. If it does, it just means that the paint is particularly sensitive to temperature, which it probably, you know what? How about this? Let me zoom out here. How about I just look it up? Let's see. Let's see if I'm right. Hold on. Here we are. How sensitive is oil paint? Oil, not owl. Oil paint to temperature. Let's take a look. Okay, that's hot. Optimal temperature conditions for painting. A complete guide. Painting, blah, 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 blah. Oil-based paints. Ideal temperature range, 40 Fahrenheit to 90 Fahrenheit. Slower drying notes. Slower drying best for moderate climates. So I was... Actually, what was the temperature? Let's take a look. Because I guessed it at 50, but it may have actually been cooler than that. So... Oh, I can't look up... You can't look up historical stuff on these things. Let me take a look here. Past weather conditions. Okay, here we go. Past weather. Let's take a look. So the past weather, this would have only been for yesterday, so this should be very, very quick. So past weather for Sunday. Oh, here it is, Sunday. Oh, boy. Well, the high was 52. So, oh, here's the PMs too. I did my painting. Yeah, so it was between 48 and 52. So it was right in that neighborhood. So it probably definitely was firmer than it should have been. I'm just looking here. The drying process is slower but more forgiving in terms of temperature fluctuations. They handle, but applying in very cold weather can freeze. Okay, well, it's not, okay, it wasn't freezing, but I do think that there was I do think that the temperature made it stiffer. Yeah. Yeah. I have a hunch that's what it was. I mean, I'll find out very quickly because, like I said, next time I'm going to do, I'm going to let it come to temperature. Let's see. I'm just looking up to see what this says. Yeah, they're all saying that about. So that's what I think I'm going to do next time. Is next time I'll let it come up to room temperature, and then I will see if the paint applies better. Because, like I said, I really had to work the brush to get that to spread. And I noticed it. If it just seemed like it was typical, because I've done background transparency before. So, you know, for me to notice it tells me that it probably was, that the temperature was just at the point where it was becoming more difficult to work with. I couldn't, jeez. I can't say it was difficult to work with. I don't think that would really be an accurate statement, but I did have to apply a good amount of force to it to get it to do what I wanted it to. So I will test out the theory. Probably this weekend I will paint again, I think. And I will try it with, I do have to get paint thinner. Oh, and probably contact paper. So I may be taking a trip to the, just occurred to me. It's probably going to be a mob scene because of the Black Friday stuff. So, that may be something I decide to get online. Just have it sent here because do I really feel like messing with those lines? I don't think I do. So I'm gonna say probably contact paper is what I need. I'll look that up after the stream. I don't want to stop again to do that, but it just occurred to me, like, it's gonna be Black Friday, and I don't care. You know what? There's no deals anymore that make it worth the nightmare of dealing with the crowds of people that are desperate to save $3 on something. And that's fine if you really need to save that $3. I mean, go for it. But I've so checked out of that entire concept now. The Black Friday idea is just miserable, I think is the term I would use. Yeah, that's what I would say. And I'm sure the whole weekend's going to be like that. I don't think it's going to let up because generally now, I'm sure with how everything is, these stores are going to want to squeeze out every single possible dollar from Black Friday they can. So I think I'll just go ahead and order it online. I don't know why I'm whispering, but make it easy on myself. Because, yeah, that doesn't sound great. Doesn't sound great. I completely forgot about Black Friday till just now because I have so little interest in it. But I just thought, oh, yeah, that's this weekend. I don't know if my sister still participates in that. I know people who do. I know people who do that. They love it. Those people, I think, also enjoy shopping in general far more than I do. I'm not a fan of shopping. I don't find it to be fun or anything like that. It's, you know, it's not that I don't buy things or whatever. I do when I need them, but I don't, you know, I want to be in and out. I'm not somebody who needs to wander around and, you know, peruse the store. I generally go to a store with an idea of what I need so that I can get in and get out and be done with it and not be stuck, because that just to me does not sound like a fun thing to do, is be stuck in a store, you know, with a bunch of people that are all, especially with people who are looking for deals or whatever. That's just not for me. Nope. Not at all. Yeah. It's just not. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass on that. I'm just making a note on my phone to get contact paper, because I really don't want to do what I did last time with the painter's tape. I think that worked, but I don't think it was a great idea. So I'm not going to repeat that mistake. Where are those eyes? There they are, right there. Okay, let's switch to here. Let's grab this. Let's color that in. And then probably I forgot to do the... Oh, I did that one. Okay. I was going to say I forgot to do the assist on that last time, but I must have fixed the one. Where is this? There? Yes, it is. Okay. Color. Thank you. All right. So, yeah, like I said, it's... I know people who really... If you enjoy the shopping experience in general, if you like being in a store and kind of looking at stuff, then I'm sure that... And I kind of... I do remember going to some Black Friday stuff with my mother when I was younger, and there was something kind of appealing about it, of just being in the middle of all these people and everybody's kind of looking for deals, and, you know, and you're trying to... I mean, it's a lot different now than it used to be, too, because when I was younger and I actually enjoyed it, that was well before shopping online was as common as it is now. I mean, you could shop online, but mostly what you were doing was doing, you know, you were like doing store pickup stuff. It was a lot of that. And you did not, at that time, not everything was on the website. So it wasn't like now. Yes, making myself seem old, which I guess I am now. But at that point, a lot of stores did not have their entire inventory on the website like we're used to now. I mean, now you can go to, like, let's say a Target or a Best Buy or whoever, or Walmart or anything, and you basically can find out if something's in stock right then. You just go and you say, okay, here's the store. I'm in this area. Do they have this in stock so I can pick it up in an hour? And bang, you're done. That's it. In and out. That is not how it was at every store for a long time. For a lot of stores, you couldn't even check if something was in stock. I mean, you generally could find some things, but there were other times I remember ordering things, and then, you know, the order would go through, and then within 5 minutes I'd get an email from the store saying, yeah, we checked and we don't have this. Because what they would do is they'd get the order and they would send a person into the back to see if they actually had it. There was a lot of that. You know, and then it improved pretty quick, but there was a period of time where you really didn't know. You didn't actually know if you were going to get what they said. I just remembered from the last stream, so I'm kind of like readying myself for a loud sound as some dipstick bot comes in here offering me lots of followers for cheap, which I will never ever buy, but they'll show up anyway because they don't care, because they're bots. But yeah, so when there was, before online shopping was as common as it is now in the same way, you would have to show up, and I'm sure they still do this in some places, but I don't think it's not the same as it was. So they would be like, okay, the Black Friday specifically, that Friday, we're going to have 50 TVs or whatever, electronic thing of your choice. We're going to have game consoles, anything. We're going to have 50 of these things at this dirt cheap price. So the first X number of people get that. So you'd line up, and people would line up, and they would wait to get whatever that thing was. And I remember waiting on some of those lines. And I think in almost every case, I remember the only one I remember getting, the only one I remember being in the line and actually being able to get was for a laptop. I don't even remember who made it. I want to say it was an Acer, but I don't remember. But it was a Best Buy line. And I remember, because I had worked at Best Buy at one time. Or sorry, not Best Buy. It wasn't Best Buy. It was Media Play. That store doesn't even exist anymore. It was sort of a early version of, what would Media Play be most analogous to? I guess it would be the closest to, you know how Barnes & Noble is a bookstore, but they also have CDs and Blu-ray, and they are mainly a bookstore, but it's sort of a 60% bookstore and then 40% everything else. Media Play was doing all of it equally. So the store was essentially split into 4 parts. There was a music part, a movies part, a book part, and then a kind of everything else. Everything else being like arts, crafts, some toys, that type of thing. But they were much more about kind of being the everything entertainment store. And I worked there for, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years, something like that. It was a great store. I really enjoyed working there, to be honest. I liked it. It was a really fun job because you really could just, you got an employee discount and all that stuff. And it was a fun job. It really was. Like, it was fairly laid back for retail. Because I've worked a couple of retail jobs in my life. I was Media Play, I worked for Brookstone, and I did work not in Best Buy specifically, but in the Geek Squad doing computer repair when that was still an independent entity. Shortly after I left, they were absorbed into Best Buy and became a part of it. So Geek Squad and Best Buy, as far as I understand, unless they've split, they became one thing. Geek Squad got absorbed, but for a while when I was working there, it was an independent entity within Best Buy, so it was more like a third party that was in-house, because Best Buy, didn't have really a computer repair department, and they wanted one because they were trying to sell computers. It was a way to upsell things. There was a lot of BS upselling in that job, which I did not like, and I really soft-pedaled it as much as I could, but I mean, to some degree, they more or less, if you wanted to keep your job, you were somewhat forced to try to talk people into things, which I never liked. And I as delicately as possible, basically discouraged people from buying all this extra garbage they didn't need, because I don't think that's something that's right to do, to be honest. I just don't. So yeah, but luckily I wasn't there for too. Although none of the people were bad. The people I worked with were fine. It was the whole corporate policy of it. You could kind of see the writing on the wall that's where it was going to go. So I'm not surprised that Best Buy absorbed them. They probably saw it as a profit center type of thing. But anyway, Media Play. Media Play was a blast. It was in the Media Play was in the South Hills Mall in Poughkeepsie. I believe because you know how malls have anchors. And don't forget, when I was working there, malls were still big. It's not like it is now. And that store was one of their anchor stores. It was this big store for a mall store. And basically, the malls, it was really weird how these malls were in there where I lived. Because you had two malls within, well, I guess it's not that uncommon because that's how it is where we live now. The mall that's near here has another mall nearby it. And there's kind of the A mall and the B mall. There's kind of the better mall and the slightly worse mall. And that was the same thing where the Poughkeepsie Galleria, because South Hills and the Poughkeepsie Galleria were both in Poughkeepsie. They still are. They're still both there. Although South Hills, my understanding is completely gutted at this point. I don't even know if it's really considered a mall or just a giant flea market with a couple of scattered stores now. But at the time I worked there, they were both kind of, South Hills was definitely the lesser mall, but only barely. Only really because the stores were older, not because it was really a bad, the mall itself wasn't bad or anything. It was just because it was older, it was seen as kind of the B tier. Anyway, Best Buy was one of their anchor stores, and that store was awesome. I mean, I remember, on my break, I would get a book and I could read, and they wanted you to do that. That's the other thing. They encouraged you to actually, if you were staying for your break, they wanted you to read so that people saw the books and wanted to buy a book and would ask you, and you were, encouraged to tell them. And it was, I liked the fact that it wasn't really, they weren't really trying to make you upsell things. 72 is empty. Okay, good. Instead, they were trying to make it organic. They're like, yeah, okay, read a book, and if somebody asks you about it, tell them what you're reading. But they weren't like, and try to sell it to them. It was fairly laid back when I was there, which, I think about that now, and I wonder, how long did that last? It may have been, media play is gone, and maybe one of the reasons is because they were too laid back, although I don't like to think so. That would just be sad to me, is that a store that was actually genuinely trying to be an inviting place without annihilating you with sales pitches failed because of it. So I think it was more that that type of store that didn't really have a focus because it was trying to serve all the entertainment stuff. I just think it generally closed with the decline of malls and everything. I don't know, when did Media Play close? Let me zoom out. I'm curious now. There we go. Let's take a quick look, because now I am genuinely curious about it. Let's see. When did Media Play close? Media Play. It's a while ago. Media Play was a chain of retail stores founded in 1992 by Musicland that sold VHS, DVDs, Laserdiscs, music, electronics, toys, video games. Video games! That was the other big quadrant. That's right. Anime. Oh, yeah, their anime section was amazing. Books and board games. Yeah. Okay, each store contained full book, movie, music, and video game sections under one roof. See? Yeah, good. I'm not crazy. I remember this. The first one was in Illinois. That's interesting. Media Play opened stores till 2000. When did they go under? 2006. Wow. Yeah. Well, I moved down here in 2004, so it was a couple years after I moved out. Oh, interesting. Here's a fun trivia thing. I did not know this. That the company that owned Media Play was bought by Best Buy in 2001. Wow. Interesting. Oh, they also own Sam Goody, Downfall. Oh, look at that store. Store faces strong competition, particularly from like Amazon. Yeah, that's what it did. That's what did it. And generally just malls being... Media Play was a great store. I of all the places I worked, as far as like the retail jobs and that type of thing, Media Play far and away is the only one that I really have any nostalgic love for. I really did like working there. It was really a fun place to work, and because they were always playing new music, and it just seemed like a neat place to be. It was a good hangout place for a store. And I don't remember there ever being a lot of, they didn't mind that people were hanging out there. They kind of wanted you to hang out there. It was just a different type of store. It's the only way I can put it. And I do genuinely miss it. Like, I have very fond memories, which I can't say of a lot of stuff, but I do have fond memories of that store. And it's a shame that it's gone. because I mean, obviously, nothing would survive now. It's all being eaten up by online, which is a shame too. That's a whole separate discussion. Is I don't think it's great that everything is now through Amazon and all the rest of it, because Amazon is just getting worse and worse. It's a really junky, I wanted to call it store, but shopping destination that I try to avoid when I can. It's not always possible, unfortunately. Sometimes it is the only way. Like I said, I'm not going to do Black Friday, so I probably will order the paint thinner and the contact paper through Amazon, just so that I don't have to go to a store. I'm fine with it not being delivered today. Today meaning 2 days, the number 2, not today. They're not delivering anything. I mean, you can do now overnight shipping, which is just ludicrous to me. Why? What does somebody need that they need to do overnight shipping that they can't? If you need it that bad, go to a store. I mean, if you're in the middle of nowhere, you're not going to get overnight shipping, so it's not even a question of that. But what do you need that can't wait? There's literally options now for, 3 to 6 a.m. For what? But what do I know? What do I know? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But that's just me. I'm probably going to have to double up on some of these color layers, because I can just tell right now there's no way I will have enough layers to do all this. So let's go ahead and brighten that just a bit. 55. Push the saturation up a little. Resample. There we go. But yeah, media play. And I so remember that place. I really do. I have such a... I mean, part of that too is that the South Hills Mall in general is a place I have a lot of fond memories for. It still exists, I believe. Well, hold on. Now I got to see this. Now I got to look this up. Sorry, this is becoming the magical memory tour. But I'm just curious, does the South Hills Mall still exist? Or have they torn it down? Look at that. Good old media play. South Hills, not Hull, Hills Mall. Oh, yeah, I guess that's a pretty common name. I'd have to put the town in. Hold on. Does it still exist? Oh, yeah. Oh, it's called The Shops at South Hills. Formerly the South Hills Mall. Yeah, that's it. Oh, was. Wait a minute. It says was. Okay, it's a strip mall now. It closed. The indoor mall closed. It is now just an external mall. Wow. The mall is adjacent to its more successful rival, the Poughkeepsie Galleria, and the two properties are linked by a series of roads between. Yep, that's right. The Galleria's existence led to the slow decline and eventual closure of South Hills. Yeah. The mall was demolished, rebuilt? Oh, in 08 as an outdoor strip mall. I haven't even seen it since it's been that. Yeah, that makes me sad too, because the South Hills Mall had as was again a common thing for malls at the time, or at least a lot of malls I've been to, they had what I would call an anime store. It was basically, a store filled with Japanese anime, manga, Pokemon, Digimon, all that stuff, all that type of stuff was in there. But it was very much, people would call it the Japanese comic book store, because people didn't know what the term manga was not a very commonly used one at that time. And one of those stores, well, okay, so there was that store on the one end of the mall, but then there was also a comic book store, just a plain old vanilla comic book store, small, but with a good selection. I remember they had some good stuff in there, some hard to find stuff at the time. Not like today where you can get a version of comic from anywhere. But I went into the regular, I had gone to the Japanese, I was just about to call it the Japanese comic store, the anime store. And when I came out, I usually bounced from one to the other. It was very common. I'd go to the one, and then I would go to the other. And so I'd come from the anime store, where I think I'd gotten some Godzilla stuff, because they had some really nice Godzilla stuff, which I've always loved Godzilla. Godzilla is just one of my favorite things. And I remember I had gone to the comic book store, the regular comic book store, the Western comic book store, if we'll call it that. And I remember walking in. I remember this so clearly. And there was, at the time, it was a CRT. They had a TV up in the corner, and the owner would play which I don't, now that I think about it, I don't think I ever saw the owner. I remember people working there, but I don't think I ever actually interacted with the owner. But I should have, because I should have thanked the person, whoever it was, because I was, I'm in there and I'm just looking at comics. I'm just kind of browsing around, and I happened to look up, and I see this animated film, obviously not an American one, like as little as I knew at the time, because really I didn't know much about anime, to be honest, at this point, because I was relatively young. And again, anime was not yet a huge thing. I don't know what year it was, but I looked up and I saw this animated movie, which I didn't know what it was at the time, but all I remember was that there was this character with this really wild hair sitting in a stone throne and he had a mechanical arm, like a cyborg arm, and the arm was exploding with wires that were going into the chair. And I was so mesmerized by this thing I was looking at. And then I went to, and I happened, and what the person, whoever was in charge of this stuff, I'm just assuming it was the owner. I mean, it makes sense it would be the owner, would have whatever was playing right under the TV on a little shelf so that you knew what it was, which I think is very smart. It's actually far more kind of aware and helpful to people than I think a lot of places ever did. Because I know when I would go into like the video rental store, they wouldn't do that. You'd have to go and ask somebody, assuming that person wasn't busy or hanging out in the back or whatever. But nope, there was a little shelf and there was a little tape there, and the tape said Akira. And I remember I went, found the tape, bought it, and boy, did I wear that tape out, because that was a transcendent moment in terms of a new world being opened up, but also just, it was from an artistic perspective, I immediately just understood that this movie was so far ahead of anything else I'd ever seen, even Disney stuff. Which, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of beautiful artistry in Disney, because again, at that time there wasn't a lot of, the computer thing hadn't taken over yet. So you weren't just getting live action remakes of old hand animated stuff and just computer generated everything. So Disney was still good, but it was mature. It looked like it had an edge to it. It was so gorgeous. It's so hard to communicate the like seismic reaction I had to seeing Akira for the first time. I vividly remember it. I remember every bit about seeing that movie on that little TV. Oh, I mean, it really wasn't that big, small of a TV. Compared to today's TVs, it was tiny. For the time, it was it was probably a 24-inch maybe television that was mounted to the wall, which at the time was a perfectly fine television. Now we would think of that as very small because we're used to giant TVs, but at the time, that was not considered a small TV. But I remember watching that. I remember watching that so clearly, and just again entranced. I don't know how long I stood there for before I was like, all right, I'm just gonna buy the tape. But it had to have been a good 10 minutes where I was just staring at this thing. And there was nobody else there either. It was a strange thing. Because that store was rarely empty. But I happened to catch it when there was really nobody in there. And so I was just this young kid just staring at a TV with this movie on it and just being transported to, what this thing was and experiencing this thing. And I remember that so clearly. And it was, like I said, to the point where I can remember it very, very vividly right now. Just talking about it, I remember it so clearly. It was great. It really was. Yeah, now I'm thinking about like media play and all that stuff. All that stuff is all mixed together for me. I'm sure it's like that for everybody. I think everybody has those places. Those places that you remember very fondly. For a lot of people, it's the video store. Like my friend Len Kabazinski would say, I don't know why I was having problems pronouncing his name right then. Len Kabazinski would say, like, the video store was for him and his brother. I think it was where they got into ninja movies. And for a lot of people, the video store, if you're into film, that was a big thing. So it was either movie theaters, depending on how old you are, might be a movie theater, or it would be the video store. That's what it would be. So yeah, Akira. Seeing Akira on a VHS, because that's what it was. It was a VHS tape at the time on a CRT. And then I went home, and my parents had a, well, it was definitely bigger than a 24-inch television. It might have been a 36. I want to say it was a 36-inch television. I remember watching that and being like, wow, look how much better this looks on a big, quote-unquote, screen. And my father did have really good taste in TVs. Like, my dad didn't just buy the cheapest TV. He actually wanted to get a good TV. So it was I believe that one was that was a Sony. I think all of the TVs in our house were Sonys. Yeah. Now that I think about it, they were. I had a Sony for a long time. I actually brought that TV out to California with me. I liked it so much. Which was not the lightest TV in the world, so that was a bit of an effort, but did bring it out here. And really, until we went to a flat screen TV, that was my main TV. It was Sony Wega 36, maybe? I don't remember. It was heavy. I can tell you that. It was a heavy television. I remember lifting that thing and being very worried I was going to drop it. Yeah. Big, heavy TV. So, yeah. But, yeah, watching Akira. And working at Media Play. Those are great memories. Because like I said, I don't think a lot of people will... Actually, maybe that's not true. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that. Because my wife has good memories of working at the pizza place. Where when she grew up, she worked for a pizza store, and she has fond memories because she worked next to a yogurt shop, and they would make all these yogurt flavors and stuff. So I shouldn't say it like most people don't. Maybe everybody does have one or two jobs that they really fondly remember. But that was, the Media Play was definitely mine. I remember it was, and I worked with a lot of, I mean, I can't remember really any of them. Like, I'm not even gonna lie and say I can really remember names or faces even. But I remember, that's another thing, is I don't remember anybody that I worked with at that store that was not a fun person to work with, which I could not say about any other job I ever had. That everybody that was at that place, I enjoyed working with all of them. They were fun people. And I think some of that, at least partially, has to be attributed to the store. And when you work at a place where it's fun and it's laid back and it doesn't feel like a terrible job and everybody's in the same place working the same way, I think it does help. So it probably was a byproduct of that. But like I said, I really can't complain about anything in that store. There's nothing bad I can think about it. Yeah, boy. That's the one thing when it comes to like time travel. There are these like everybody, I guess, these moments I would not mind going back and kind of as myself experiencing a day working there and seeing how it is to see it as an adult, and maybe I wouldn't have as such fond memories. Maybe it would not be the same. So maybe I'd want to have the enthusiasm of when I was younger working there inserted into my adult brain, just to think about being at a job that was as fun as that one. Because that was, I mean, even then, I think that was a rarity to work in a store like that was as fun as that one was. Yeah, probably not all that common. And on that note, everybody, you know what? I think I'm going, because my head is aching a little bit. I think it's just because of the painting. But that's okay, because I got some stuff done. And it's 50 minutes, so it's not like, it wasn't a 10-minute stream or anything. So I think I'm going to bring it to a close here just to give my hand a break. So let me kick the Be Right Back screen up. Turn that off. And thanks for hanging around for a little trip down memory lane. I'm not really somebody who does a lot of the nostalgic thing. I don't get hung up on that too much, but I have to admit, Media Play is one of those places. I think probably not on here, but I know I've talked fondly about it before because I do genuinely remember enjoying that job. And I don't know how many people can claim that they had a lot of jobs that they genuinely liked, but that was one for me. So anyway, on that note, I don't think anybody was on the live stream and never saw a thing that alerted me. So, although I don't even know if I have that set up correctly. So if nobody was, that's fine. If you're watching this later, that's perfectly okay. Really doesn't matter to me when people find my stuff. I appreciate people watching whenever. And yeah, so on that note, as I typically say, or I try to, I will encourage you to find a creator that you like and support that person in some way. And I'm not talking about me because I'm doing fine. I'm very, very fortunate. But there are lots of people who are creators who are struggling. Unfortunately, being a creator is just, I doubt it's ever been easy throughout history. To my knowledge, it never has been, but it's certainly not easy right now. There's a lot of stuff, just the general pressures of making a living on top of all this AI stuff and the kind of persistent underappreciation of the wonderful contributions creative people make to our lives. It's so easy to overlook it. It really is. I'm not going to pretend I've never been guilty of it either, and I'm somebody who does creative work. So find somebody who is trying to make a living being a creator and try to support that person in whatever way you can. And like I've said many, many times, but I will re-emphasize it just because it is actually the truth. That does not automatically mean money. You don't always have to do it monetarily because not everybody has money to donate to somebody else. That doesn't have to be the only avenue for it. If you can, great, do so. But if you can't, then resharing somebody's work, or, telling somebody else about somebody's work that you think might like it. These things, they all contribute because it's, if you can bring new eyes to somebody's work, that's good, and you should. And like I said, it doesn't have to be money, because I think that's what a lot of people just default to is, oh, well, if I can't donate money, they're not going to appreciate just that I'm reposting their stuff. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. I promise you. They will appreciate whatever you can do. So whatever, even just sending a note, an email, or a message on whatever social platform or whatever the people are on, or maybe they have their own website, that type of thing. However it is, take the time, just even if it's just 5 minutes, to write a 2-sentence thing, to somebody, just to say, hey, I really like your work. I appreciate it, and it's great stuff. That type of thing can go a long way. You might not realize it, but and I've used this example before because I know for a fact this has happened, that you might send that note right when somebody is really struggling with whether they should just give up on what they're doing. Like they're having a hard time with it, and they're not making a lot of money from it, and they might be sitting here going, do I really, really want to do this anymore? Maybe I should just stop and give up. I mean, give up is probably the wrong word for it, but you just never know. So if you have the means, however it works, whatever makes sense for you, to be able to support somebody, then you should do it. Just take the time and whatever makes sense to you, reach out and support an artist if you can, because I guarantee you they will appreciate it. And like I said, you never know how far, even the smallest thing, even just a sentence or two, you just don't know how far that's going to go. And if there's any possibility that you can make a difference to somebody, in general, you can go outside the creator space. If you have the ability to make somebody else's life better in some way, you should always take it. So whether that's with a creator or anybody, there's the broader thing. If you have any ability to make somebody's day better, it doesn't matter how big or small it is. Those small things add up to something big. So do what you can. Oh, jeez, I just hit the mic stand. Luckily, it's not the mic that I'm using. But that's probably my sign that now I'm just babbling. So I'm going to end the stream now. And like I said, go support a creator. Go make somebody's day a little bit better. On that note, thanks again for being here, whether live or later. Doesn't matter to me. I just appreciate you stopping by. And until the next stream, take care.